This is James Lupton, delighted to be joined again with Greg Meehan. Greg, how are you, mate?
I'm good, James. Thank you. How are you?
Yeah, very well. Thank you, mate. Very well. A big time coming up for yourself, some of your clients, a few big fight nights over in America. Let's start with Conor Benn. He is fighting in Vegas against Pistol Pete Dobson. You work with Conor with his breath work. It's something that is unnoticed when you're thinking of training regimes and camp and things like that. First of all, to explain what it is that you do with Conor in terms of his breath work.
With Conor and most of the fighters I work with, is it's two sides to it. There's like what I would call the physical breath work, the physical fitness side of it, and then like the mental fitness side of it. And a lot of it's to do with regulating the nervous system first thing in the morning, making sure that we are ready for the day, deleting out any cortisone that's overcooked from waking us up in the morning from sleep, and getting us ready to start the day straight away with that. And then when it comes to the physical side of it, it's more to do with how he's breathing in between rounds, how he's breathing when he runs, making sure he's using every single part of his breathing muscles and mechanics to get a full breath in. A lot of people chest breathe like this, and they're just using the top part of their lungs. Still very fit people, but they're not optimally breathing. So it's with Conor and the other fighters, especially. It's about making sure that he's getting the full capacity from his breathing and his work. And yeah, it is a bit of a unseen part of a fighter's camp, but it's one that's growing massively. And with people like Conor and the other guys at Matchroom as well, and they often speak about it, and it's getting a bit of traction, I think, and yeah, it's good. He's doing really well with it, actually. Yeah.
In terms of with the boxing and anything can happen during a fight, let's say one of your fighters, clients, let's say Conor in this example, was to go in there in round one and get a broken nose. He's then going to struggle to breathe through his nose as you would like him to.
Hmm.
Do you work on plan B as such for that situation?
Yeah, 100%. Because Ryder broke his nose in the Canelo fight, and it's something I always explain to fighters. And then if it's a fighter I work with that I don't know their trainer, I'll get the fighter to tell them trainer that if that happens in a fight, just to make sure that they continue to breathe like belly breathe rather than just using their mouth, but making sure they're belly breathing rather than going back to the chest like this, because their respiratory system would have changed in camp to be comfortable with nasal and belly breathing together, which is the optimal way to breathe. In the case of having a broken nose, they go back to just mouth breathing, but make sure that they continue to breathe through their belly, and what they need from it, they'll get. They're not going to, their respiratory system won't change back to their old way of breathing, the dysfunctional way, within 12 round fight. It'd take a few weeks of mouth breathing to go back there. But that's something that I explain to fighters as well, because it is part of what could possibly happen for them. And it happened with John, and John handled it really well. He continued his breathing. He kept nice and calm and regulated, because the mouth breathing can send the wrong signals to the brain, like a panic system. But if it's trained over a course of 3 months, it's almost like the respiratory system will work slightly as an advantage with mouth breathing as it would if they wasn't practicing the right type of breathing. So yeah, it's something that they're told about, not to panic. And I'm sure someone will, though, when it happens, because it's easy to say until it happens. But yeah, and then make sure the coaches are aware in case the fighter comes back and starts like that, just to get them to say, continue, make sure you're breathing through your belly, and generally that's enough, to get them through it.
With breathing, I mean, there's nothing more habitual than breathing. So is it difficult at times when you start with a new client to teach them to breathe differently?
Yeah, 100%. It's well, when you're working with athletes as well, they're all super fit anyway. So when you're telling a super fit athlete, someone like Conor, he's an ultimate athlete, super fit. And when you're saying to him, like, I can help you, breathe, be stronger, recover quicker, have more energy and power, he's probably thinking, how? Like, I've already got it, and it is a case of once it takes a bit of time when you start to work with someone at first, you're trying to tell them how to change how they breathe, like through their training and their day. But there's like light bulb moments that people have. They start if they're interested in it, they start the courses with me. It usually takes like a week or so, and they'll notice something different. They'll notice that they recover quicker between rounds. They'll notice that their heart rate lowers, resting heart rate gets lower, their HRV gets higher, and they start to sleep better, deeper sleep. And yeah, so it's usually waiting for a light bulb moment, and then they'll come to me and say, "Oh, and then they'll go all in once they see that," which is fine because you're changing how someone breathes, like you say. It's something we do all the time, so it does take a light bulb moment to send them in the right direction.
In terms of mentioning they're making it a habit, I'm assuming that the breathing techniques you teach them is for 24/7. It's not just for training and fights.
Yeah, totally. It's most people don't breathe correctly. They breathe the wrong way, but it's a not to the body. The easiest way for the body to breathe is through the mouth. It's because it's the easiest way for the body to breathe. It just wants everything easy. The optimal way is to nasal breathe. We are when we're born, babies understand that nose is for breathing, mouth's for eating. But we tend to copy our parents, and by the age of 2, we become mouth breathers. I think the number is like 80% of the world breathes for their mouth, and it's one of the biggest causes of disease and death is mouth breathing, believe it or not. So the main problem with the fighters is they have such a busy schedule anyway. They're boxing training, they're S&C, they're doing massages, they're doing track work. You've got to construct it so you can fit a new type of training into their regime. And sometimes that's the hardest part because, they'll get up and quickly go and get ready and go to the gym. And then they miss their first thing in the morning part of it because their breathwork training is like 3 or 4 times a day, every day. It's not like they might do S&C twice a week or spar 3 times a week. This is 4 or 5 times a day. And a lot of the time it's on their own. I'll teach them and then they'll do it on their own. So that's the hardest part is finding where to place it for the fighters so it becomes easy. Some of them have certain practices, they'll do it in the car on the way to the gym. Some of them actually get up earlier and do it. It's about finding and getting to know the character and put it into place, really.
Absolutely. Mentioned John Ryder already. We're going to talk a little bit more in depth about John because you do a bit more than just his breath work. We have spoken before about the Canelo fight, but obviously he's got a big fight coming up now against Mongolia. I suppose you could potentially argue it's a make or break fight for John at this stage of his career. So what you do and the rest of the team is vital at this stage. Just talk to me what you've done so far with John heading into this fight.
For this camp, with John, we've worked probably more nervous system control. We've gone a bit deeper into stuff because last camp we was working on more to do with keeping him present, making sure he stayed laser focused. It was something that he wanted to work on from the fight before the Canelo fight. He didn't feel that present in the changing rooms, and we worked on that, and we got some great results. We didn't get the result he wanted, obviously, but it got him, his whole team. We got him to, get him to where we needed him to be, and he performed great. I think for this camp, we've focused a bit more on keeping the nervous system nice and controlled. It's an important part of his career for sure, where the stage he's at. And what I mean by nervous system control is we've gone a bit more deeper, I would say, into the breath work in the mornings, more of like the mental fitness side. Also, ice baths, something we've got him into for this camp, and that's something that people think you just get into an ice bath. You don't. If you want to do it every day, you've got to do it right, and it's about being able to breathe into it and making sure you stay in it. And John's done it every single day for like 3 months, and that's something that we worked on. And we don't do that on a recovery basis where people think that athletes get into a nice bath after a nice workout. We done it the other way around for John, and it's first thing in the morning before he goes training. So you get a testosterone hit from that as well. And when you're in the ice bath, it's about keeping complete control. And I think it's something that we worked on with John, and just to keep him nice and relaxed constantly all the way through. Because, like you say, there's going to be a lot of pressure around this fight because of his stage in his career. But not just that, it's the opponents took this fight probably thinking that if he does a better job than Canelo did, he's going to get a Canelo fight. And then there's that to think about. John's a way fighter again. It's not on his promotion. There's a lot of variables that can come into play. And I think that the most important thing was to make sure that John just kept nice and relaxed and controlled with it all. And that's a side that we worked on for this camp, mostly, I would say.
You mentioned about the ice baths, and it was a new addition to this camp, and you're
Yeah.
doing it in the order that you've done it in. for the reasons you've done it for. Now, a lot of people look at it and say, well, John's been a professional boxer and an amateur for a long, long time. He's been in the sport for a long time. Why, if it's not broke, don't fix it. Why change it and why add things now at this stage of his career? Why do you feel what you're adding in now, fresh
Mm.
and brand new to this camp, will benefit John?
I think that for every single fighter, no matter of their experience, that every fight they have is a step up. Really, it's a step up, or it's an important fight, or for whatever reason, it can be like a young amateur making a step up to a British title fight, even though he could be an ex-GB guy. He's still stepping into new territory. Everything he's done before has been great, but then there's levels to it. There's levels to everything, and then with John, it's a winnable fight. This, I believe, totally for John, and I think he does win. And then who knows what's after that for John? And he is at a chapter in his career where maybe there would be an element of why do you need to add anything to it? But again, he's never. This is a fight he's never had before. It's an opponent he's never fought before. So there's loads of things that can come into play. So as much as we can add to it and leave no stone unturned for him, covering all the bases, he's implement as much as we can to get the result we want.
Definitely. And you'll be flying out to America to join up with John and the team. Just talk to what you'll be doing over there. Will you be, I know you mentioned the Canelo fight in our previous interview. You went around the arena, the dressing room, etc. And it was that being present and just getting him used to his surroundings. Will you do something similar on this occasion, or what will you be doing when you get to America?
Yeah, I'm going to shoot out to LA first, and then we'll head down to Arizona after about a week. I'm going to go on the 20th, I think, yeah, 20th of Jan. Same thing. We'll start off the day every day. More in-person breathing every morning. Keep the practices that he does through camp that I've taught him and do them together. And really dial in on embracing the environment. It's a case of getting used to the surroundings, getting into the arena as quick as possible to do a little tour of it, get comfortable with it. This is a different one in terms of there's no face-to-face yet. There's been no real press conferences about it. And so that's all going to happen fight week. So another important reason to work on keeping nice and relaxed, regardless of someone's experience. They want to win, and I think that's a big factor as well. He's preparing John for when he does a face-to-face. He's done loads of them before, but they're always different. We're going to make sure that it's nice and controlled. And yeah, I think environment's really important. And he's already down there with his his team that he's always usually worked with for many years, and that will keep him comfortable already. And I think I'll just add that last piece to the puzzle for him.
And just finally, Greg, talk to me about post-fight. Regardless of the result, win, lose, or draw, what is your role post-fight?
What with someone like John, for example? Well, the main thing is, and this is why we bring in new things like ice baths and nervous system control breathing, is because if the result doesn't go the way of the fighter, they can say to themselves that they've done everything that they possibly could, and it just wasn't meant to be their night. If they've worked on, which they would have done with their the training teams, S&C, boxing, and then their breath work, everything else that they need to add in, nutrition, everything possible, and it doesn't go their way, they can say, you know what, I turned up, I've done my best, it wasn't meant to be for me on the night. If someone does do their S&C, boxing, nutrition, and maybe doesn't have someone on the mindset side or a breathwork side, and they didn't get the result, maybe they could say, well, maybe that's something I need to look to add to next time. But I think that's the most important thing, is that they understand that they've done everything they can and don't leave any stone unturned. And then it makes it a little bit of an easier pill to swallow. Not that it's ever easy, but no, it's important to make sure that they understand that. And generally they do. I think a lot of fighters, if they really do everything they can and it doesn't go their way, a lot of them know they've done everything they can. I think a fighter that maybe loses and it's a loss fair and square and they still moan about it, maybe they know deep inside they haven't give everything they could have done. I think that's sometimes a sign of that.
Just actually going off your answer there, in terms of you mentioned obviously mindset and coaching the mindset, without being too negative, can you coach somebody's mindset to deal with defeat?
I think it's more of a case. of helping a fighter understand that losing part of what they do, preparing them before a fight. There's too many fighters, especially young fighters today, that focus on not losing rather than I know I can lose, but I'm going to win. That's a very different mindset to have. If you're just looking to get through a fight because you're too afraid of losing, you're going to have a lot of problems. And there's a lot of, I reckon there's quite a few undefeated fighters that have got a lot of talent that are probably holding themselves back because the pressure of being undefeated and the pressure of becoming a bit of a superstar can come on them a little bit. But I think preparing someone before that is to make sure that they understand that losing's part of it, and a good preparation for that is no matter what level of fighter someone's fighting, like the younger guys who fight like journeymen, it's about keeping them. Sometimes they can get carried away with thinking they're just going to roll over a journeyman, and they might have people in their team that will say, "Oh, it'll be easy," and things like that. The case, I always go on saying this person's going to turn up. These guys turn up to fight, and people need to be prepared and understand that. And I think boxers sometimes can forget that. They can forget that the opponent might not be as good as them. They've got to believe that they're going to win, but at the same time, not underestimate people that are coming to win. And I think that's why we see a lot of upsets. I think people assume that someone's just going to roll over or they're going to lose, and they get in there and the person's come to play. And that catches a lot of people out. And I think that comes from preparation of how they're focused and how their mind's working.
Absolutely. Well, Greg, I want to thank you very much for your time today. It's a pleasure as always speaking to you, and all the best of luck when you fly out there with John, and obviously hopefully Conor gets that win as well.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks, James. All the best.